Good evening, everyone. Well, it might be morning when you're watching this, or afternoon, whatever it is. Yesterday, I realized my biggest problem. So I'm holding my laptop in my hand. So basically, yesterday, a group of brothers whose names won't be mentioned, just because just out of respect for them. They're cool though. I'm sure they wouldn't mind anyway, but still. I went to spend some time with a group of brothers, and we were just talking about different things, that we go for as men, that we go for as Christians, and so on and so forth, so on and so forth. And one of the brothers spoke about something that made me realize, well, I already knew that this was an issue for me, but I realized that this issue, it births tons of other issues. Now, people that know me know that I talk a lot about, lust and pride and all these little things that, young men deal with a lot, and, I personally deal with as well, and I personally fight against on a regular basis. But I realized that, to be honest with you, all of these are as a result of a bigger problem that I realized I had, that when I was writing up my things for my accountability with those around me and above me, as in the men around me and above me, I listed this thing, and I said something I'm going to be praying about, and I realized something. I and many of us, young men, even girls as well, guys and girls, lack the fear of God. What I mean by the fear of God, we lack a reverence of who He is and what He is and what He can do and what He will do and what He has done. I simply said that there was a gospel artist, his wife. He said he tweeted or something that his wife said, and she said, David was a man after God's heart, but he went to sleep with Bathsheba. Joseph was Joseph, but because he feared God, he didn't touch Potiphar's wife. And it shows how the man who loved God, because he didn't fear Him enough, he had the audacity to, do what he did. Whereas the man who feared God didn't touch the woman. He didn't touch the woman. He refused. He said, "I can't. I fear God. How can I do this to God?" And it's a very, very powerful thing to sort of have the fear of the Lord, because the fear of the Lord, at the Bible, is the beginning of wisdom. And I realized that when you fear and you reverence God, and this is what we were discussing yesterday with my brothers, when you fear, when you reverence God, when you realize who He is, when you realize that His word is true, your faith will increase. I realized that I lack a lot of faith, and it sounds so weird because I sound like, sometimes I might sound like, oh yeah, I know my Bible and blah blah blah, but I realized when it comes to trusting in God's word, I fall short so many times. He said, do not worry about tomorrow. But sometimes I overly plan, and I panic, and I'm like, I don't commit things into God's hands. On Sunday, last week Sunday, the bishop of my church, he was talking about, being courageous. God told Joshua to be courageous. I believe it was Joshua, yeah. And Joshua trusted God, and he gave the example of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And he pointed out that God delivered them in the fire. And it's when he stood there on the stage, on the altar, and he broke it, and he slowly spoke about it, that it really just hit me. These guys were in front of the king Nebuchadnezzar. He told them to bow. They said, look Nebs, look fam, we're not bowing in it. Furthermore, God is going to deliver us in it. No matter what you do, God's going to deliver us. They had the audacity to make such a bold statement. Sorry for my laptop shaking, because my hand is, the screen shaking. And afterwards, he said, cool, well, they didn't bow, blow the trumpet, they didn't bow, cool, I'm gonna burn you in the furnace. Now realistically, we know the furnace wasn't next to the throne or next to where they were standing. It wasn't just there. It's a place where you put people who are gonna die. They don't just leave, they don't just put it right there for whatever. So it's there would have been a bit of a process before the actual burning. It wouldn't have been okay, grab them and dash them. It said that the Bible talks about them turning up the furnace even higher. Now, at this point, imagine Shadrach, imagine those two guys just wondering, okay, God, are you going to help us out now? Just wondering, at which point is God going to? And realistically, a lot of us would have just said, allow it, okay, cool. Maybe God wants me to. And we would bow, because we think, we can't see how God is going to step in. When they were dragging them, or when they were taking them over to the furnace, and, it was so hot that the guys were dying, the guys who were taking them were dying. I'm sure they were thinking, okay, cool, stop. Okay, cool. They just bow and offer forgiveness later. But obviously they had full faith in God. They had full faith and trust in God, and they feared God. I guess it's a situation where, yesterday I used this example. Our mums or our dads, depending on what kind of family you're in. When you was in school, if your parents told you, specifically, to be home at a particular time, and your teacher said you better stay for a bit longer or you're in trouble, 9 times out of 10, most people in no way, shape or form are going to listen to the teacher over their parents. Depending on what kind of house you're in, obviously this doesn't go for everybody, but I can tell you now, I sure as hell wouldn't. I wouldn't risk. I couldn't tell my mom. My teacher said, my mom would say, but I told you, or my dad would say, but I told you to be home at this time. What we talk about, your teacher said. And that's what we do so many times. It's like, because we fear, and we reverence, we respect our parents more than our teachers, we would do what our parents said over what our teacher says. And it should be like that. That's how I should be. We should all be with God, whereby we respect him so much that it's his word, it's what he says above anything else. And I realized that because of that lack of fear, that's why I have the audacity to look at women the way I do sometimes. Like, it's never the thing of, because clearly, the kind of thoughts I'd have in my head, for example, I would never say to the girl, because I'm this one's not the same kind of fear, but this is just a standard fear. I'm scared that she might just slap me in the face and say, "How dare you?" Bam. Or there's even friends that I have that I might, girls that I respect that, my mind might drift with, and I just quickly, I wouldn't, and I would never say it to them because I respect them. Yet I would have the audacity to think those thoughts, knowing that God dwells within me and God is there and God is present, and he hates those kind of thoughts. And it's like, I realize that I need to develop in my fear of God. I need to respect who he is and realize who he is. And, don't just look at the lamb, but also look at the lion. Because sometimes we just say, well, he's going to forgive us. Well, grace. We're abusing grace and forgetting that, this is God. This is God. This is the Almighty, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And I'm just praying that, Lord, help me to fear you. Help me to fear you more. One of my brothers he pointed out that in the scriptures, when most people had an encounter with, an element of God. So, for example, the burning bush, and I think Joel and some other people, when they had encounters with God, it says that, and they trembled. It was a thing of trembling. Paul, when he saw Jesus, he dropped to his knees, and said, "My Lord, what do you want with me?" I believe, yeah. So it's like we need to come to that place where we also fear God. We not in a, oh no, but in a respectful and a no, you are God way, in a way that gives him, well, we can never give him the honor he's due, but in a way that gives the most honor us as human vessels can give. And I realized that I just think that's my prayer at the moment. And yesterday we prayed, and we prayed for those things as well. We prayed, Lord, help us to fear you. Help us to develop in our fear of you. Not being afraid of you, but respecting who you are, respecting your word and respecting what you say. Because once that happens, my faith will automatically increase and my sin will automatically decrease. Simply because, I fear him. Just as Jesus did, just as, we all need to. So yeah, man, the fear of the Lord. I advise everyone to just pray for that. Sometimes as Christians we can get too comfortable in the fact that he loves us and abuse. Everyone says familiarity breeds contempt, and we can't let that happen with God. Let's not get so familiar that we don't respect him, because it's important to respect God. So yeah, man, and I'm not saying this as an expert on how to fear the Lord. I'm saying this is my big problem. But as we were talking yesterday, we realized that it was something that was a problem for more than just us. More than just each individual. Other people in the group that were there kind of realized and felt the same thing, that yeah, we don't fear God enough. And to be honest with you, I don't believe we can ever fear God enough. I don't think you could ever fear him enough. Don't think you'd ever give him the respect he deserves. But then strive to fear him more. We need to strive to fear him more. Yeah, man. That's about it.